So we have Elizabeth Woolf joining us this evening. She started riding at 14. She's been to 30 plus states, riding with her father, who is now 72. Oh, that's my mom's age. Yay! Yay! Oh, and she's gone. She probably didn't want her age told, so it's probably a good thing. We'll cut this one out. She rode cruisers until 2017 when they rented KLRs in Anchorage to go to Prudhoe Bay. Awesome. Then bought her first GS as soon as she got home. Now she's a dirt bike junkie chasing BDRs every year. Please welcome to the stage, Elizabeth.
So that was actually a perfect intro, because this is a BDR story. It's a wonderful BDR story, and if you haven't done a BDR, you should do one. If you're not an adventure bike rider, you should become an adventure bike rider, and you should go and just chase a BDR. It's so much fun. Like I've done Arizona and Idaho now, and this is the Idaho story, and I can't wait for my next one. Like they're just so much fun. It's just dirt biking every day and living off of your bike. And I don't know if you've camped off your bike before, but if you camp off your bike, you just feel like you're literally living in the moment every single portion of the day. There's not a single second that goes by where you don't feel like alive and well. However, bad things happen. So this is actually not my story entirely. This is my partner, Aaron, and this is mostly about his bike, because it is the bike from hell.
It was awful.
We thought that it was going to be our saving grace for this trip, and it was not. It was actually the thing that became the curse of the entire trip. There are other things that were negative that happened on the trip. There are huge positives that happened on the trip, but this bike literally, it broke my soul. broke it entirely. So we found out that our friends that I had done the Arizona BDR with, they wanted to go to Idaho. We were so excited. And Aaron at the time, and for the record, I have a WR 250R. My bike does not break down. Hasn't. And if it ever does, I will secretly fix it and not tell anyone. So my bike was not the problem on this trip. But Aaron had a 450 KTM that was very old and carbureted, and we were worried about carburation at elevation in Idaho. Didn't know how that was going to go. I was like, we should get you a new bike. We should buy you something newer, something that has fuel injection. So we did that. We bought a 350 KTM EXC that is what is now known as the bike from hell. And so we got that, and we decided months before we were even going to Idaho to test ride this bike. And so the first time we took it out, we went to Kentucky. It was supposed to be a simple one-day ride. And we went down, and the bike immediately started overheating. It overheated all the way down, all the way back. And we couldn't quite figure out what was going on. It had a manual fan switch. We worked through all of that, and spent countless hours, I joke you not, sitting on the side of the road waiting for this bike to not be at boiling temperature. There was even a point in time where we were at a construction zone, and this wonderful lady that was the flag person, the person that holds the stop and go sign, right? She was like, do you guys need water? You look like you're really having a rough day. And so we were like, yes, if we could, that'd be great. And she gave us water, and it was wonderful. And it was a really heavenly moment. So we bring the bike home. We work through all of that. We're like, okay, we're going to get this fixed so that when we go to Idaho, nothing bad's going to happen. Nothing, right? So 2 weeks later, we decided to take it to a trip in Tennessee. Fun trip, we think, in theory. And so we are riding from our house to where we're going in Tennessee is about 4 hours. We live in Columbus, Indiana. We're not exactly Cincinnati natives. Don't hold it against us. Sorry. So we get 3 hours down the road. This bike stops entirely, side of the interstate. And there's nothing that we can do to fix this. We can't figure it out. We don't even know what happened. Well, you can tell. This is where my note taking failed when I was writing this at like 10 a.m. this morning. So what was wrong with it then?
Stop sparking.
Yeah.
Simplest explanation.
Anyways, so we have a friend from Kentucky come pick him up. I ride my bike 3 hours back to Columbus, Indiana to get the truck and the trailer to go pick up his bike and bring another dirt bike so that we can still go and ride in Tennessee. And we're like, okay, we're gonna fix this. We bring the bike home, we do all the stuff, we fix it. We're like, okay, we've taken on 2 like rides. We're gonna assume that this is fixed now. Morgan Freeman voice, it was not yet fixed. So then we drive to Idaho, which from our house to Mountain Home, Idaho is roughly 30 hours. We picked up a wonderful go-getter 23-year-old on a brandy new T700, and he and his Tenere were very ready to go. And we're like, okay, that sounds great. And I will tell you, if you ever have to drive for 30 hours, get a 20-year-old to do it. Like, it was phenomenal. We slept, he drove. He drank Red Bull the entire time, and it was the best. And he literally, we got to one place and we were like, we don't want to camp here. And he was like, that's okay, I can drive for 17 more hours. And we're like, awesome, do that. You go drive. So that worked out great. And so then we get to Mountain Home and we pull into a person's driveway that we've never met in our entire life. We met them on ADV Rider and we're just like, we need places to park. And this is where the motorcycle community is amazing. We literally went on ADV Rider and we're like, we're 6 people, we need places to park so that we can do this BDR. And people showed up in droves. Like, we had to pick one of a place to park our rigs. That was the coolest thing in the world. And we don't really have the opportunity to reciprocate that here, but when you can find a place to do it, do it. And if you can find a way to help people that are motorcycling in your community that have come from out of your community to do it, do it. Amazing. So we get there and this wonderful gentleman has like a huge backyard for us to park all of our trucks and trailers. We park everything and we get on the bikes and we start out on our trip and we're like, okay, awesome. We've got 2 weeks to do this. Like, I think it's about 1,000, it's like 900 miles from where we were in Mountain Home to the Canada border and then back. And our plan was to do the whole BDR up and then kind of like a different kind of BDR on the back route. Like, we were gonna trace it back, but then like do some offshoots, and it was gonna be fun in theory. It was not fun. It was not fun. So what happened was that literally day 1.5, Aaron's bike, the machine from hell, this is an important note. I'm the slowest rider in our group all the time, every single time, always the slowest one. And everybody knows that, and we've done multiple BDRs this way. And so my job is that I leave our rest stops early. I go as far as I can go, and then the boys leapfrog me, and then I catch up to them, and then we just kind of repeat that over and over and over again, because it takes me a lot longer. That's fine. I catch up to the guys, and I see Aaron literally sitting like on the side of the road with like head in hand. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. And so there's one bolt in the bike that you really can't lose, and that's the one that holds your counter shaft sprocket on. Like, the chain goes from the back to the front, right? and there's the sprocket in the front. The bolt that holds that front sprocket on was gone, completely gone. And we cumulatively, a collection of 6 of us, walked up and down approximately 2 miles of road trying to find this bolt. We could not find it. Our solution was to pull a body bolt out of a different bike that was not the correct diameter, nor the correct length, nor the correct thread pattern. So, so we actually took a socket, a 25 millimeter socket. That's the one that I use to pull my rear. Anyways, so we put a socket onto this bolt, and then we cross-threaded it into his case to hold the front sprocket on. And then Aaron and I rode 200 miles back to Mountain Home with this cross-threaded, very questionable situation. And I think it was the best self-rescue that I've ever seen. It was also the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done in my entire life. We stopped like every 8 miles for him to like check and make sure it was still there, and we're like, we know it's like working, right, but we don't want it to back out. So we do all this stuff. We finally get back to Mountain Home. We go back to our wonderful friend who's allowed us to park our vehicles there, and he was the most helpful person I've ever encountered in my entire life. He was like, it's July 4th, and in Mountain Home, Idaho, everything closes on July 4th. I did not know that. We did not know that. So he said, I think there's one hardware store open that's like a small locally owned hardware store. Can you just take my Jeep and you guys go see what you can find and see if you can make it work? And while you're gone, I'll go through all of my stuff and see if we can find something that works. We were able to go to a locally owned hardware store, put this all back together, and it was questionable. It was like a hardware bolt not designed for motorcycle use, but Aaron continued to ride on it for the next 2 weeks, and it didn't fail us after that. But we now are 2 days behind the rest of our BDR companions. So they're, 400, 500-ish miles ahead of us. Our plan was to do 200 miles a day. They're like 500 miles ahead. So we jump on the interstate, which neither of our bikes are designed to do interstate speeds at all. Like, my WR can do 70, but I don't want to do 70 on a WR with no windscreen. Like, that's not fun. That's not fun at all. So we ran all the way up, and we thought we would catch them, but we couldn't communicate at all with the rest of the people in our group, because Idaho is very remote. There's no way to communicate. You cannot text, you cannot call unless you're in a major metropolitan area, and there's only like 3 of those in Idaho, and we weren't in any of them. So we get finally all the way up there, and we actually ended up jumping over them. We ended up further north on the route than they were, and we were waiting for them, and we're camping and like being like, oh, look at the pretty sunset, but also like, where are all of our friends? So it was a really odd moment, and finally we all get caught up, and this is like a few hundred miles south of the Canadian border. Great, awesome. This trip's gonna end well now, right? Everything that's gone wrong that could possibly go wrong has to have already gone wrong now, right? 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 You believe that? No, that did not happen. So we get to Canada. We cross. Oh! I forgot the most important part. So in the parking lot, before we left, our fearless leader, not one of us, different fearless leader, was like, man, my bike didn't immediately start. How strange. His 8,000-year-old 800 Triumph Tiger didn't want to start. and that he's never done any maintenance on his entire life and decided to drag it to Idaho and like ride a whole BDR on it without ever having done any maintenance. That guy, yeah, our fearless leader. So I forgot to mention that the entire time that we've been on this trip, we've been push starting his bike. Every single time we stopped. Do you know how exhausting that is? Like, and we would be like, Jeremy, could you park at the top of the hill? And he'd be like, yeah, or you could just push me. And it's like, yeah, we can do that too. Yeah, we can do that. So anyways, we get to the Canadian border, and the wonderful, wonderful police at the Canadian border are like, you have to turn your bike off. And he's like, if I turn it off, it won't start. And they were like, that sounds like a bad day. And you also have to turn it off. And so then we see Jeremy pedaling his bike all the way across the border into Canada, and we're like, that's really, really funny. And then we go and we get his, like, we pull up to him and we push his bike into Canada. And then we go and we lunch at a really wonderful food truck. It was great. But our only goal was to eat lunch in Canada. So we turn around and we come back literally like 45 minutes later to the same border crossing. And they're like, oh, you still have to turn it off. So then we see Jeremy pedaling his little bike. It was wonderful. And then, and that was a really, really fun gimmick of the entire trip, is that every single time that we stopped, we had to push that tiger. Every single time. I mean, I pushed it on like asphalt and dirt and sand and like uphill and downhill. Like it's the I never want to push another bike again. So then, okay, I'm almost done, I promise. So then finally, we're on our way back down, and it's a route that is not the BDR. It's something that one of our friends created. It's like the BDR heavy, not the BDR light, the BDR heavy. It's like places where somebody picked the BDR and then was like, oh look, there's a trail there, and we think maybe that's passable. We'll like just route down that. You can't do that, for the record. In Idaho, don't do it. Horrible idea. So we're in the middle of nowhere, like trying to figure out how to like route through all these different dirt roads. And then we finally come down to the bottom of one, and the bike from hell. Last stroke of death. Aaron says, I have no front brake. None whatsoever. Idaho, hilly, guys. Hilly. Like mountain hilly. Very hilly. And he has no front brake. And he wasn't joking. The cotter pin had sheared off and the bolt had come out, and he had lost both front brake pads. And so we had no way of fixing this at all. And so our best route was to go back the way we had come. And that is a long way in Idaho. Like, you think, like, you're like, oh, well, we were in that town 3 hours ago, and that's the closest town that there is. Like, you have to go all the way back to that one. And so he overheated it twice. We stopped and poured water from Camelbacks onto his rear brake pads to keep him from sliding down the mountain at unconquerable speeds. And so then we went to lunch, and Aaron was just kind of pissed off and angry at the world. So was I. And so we decided to break off from the group so that we would not, like, limit everybody else's enjoyment of the rest of the trip that we had. And then the best thing happened. And this is why I think motorcycles are so cool, is that, like, you have these moments where you make huge mistakes and then they turn into, like, something grand. So we sat at this Mexican restaurant. We were miserable. I was thinking he's out of a ride all the way back to Mountain Home with no front brake. And everybody's so sad. We say goodbye to our friends. They're taking off without us. I made a wrong turn out of the parking lot of the Mexican restaurant. And then 2 turns later to get back onto our actual route, we saw the best 3 letters that we could have possibly seen. It was KTM in big, bold orange. And we were like, that's where we have to go. And they didn't have the correct brake pads or the correct bolts, but they found things that fit and they put everything back together. And then we rode the rest of the way home. And that is the best rescue story that I possibly could tell about that trip. And I will never stop riding, ever.
But you got some
Okay,
stories out
but I
of it.
have a question for you. So, I mean, she's like, right, we gotta push this guy Jeremy's bike every single time. But wasn't it grand when you left your friends and they kept having to push his bike and you're like, I don't have to push the bike, right?
Pretty wonderful. Pretty wonderful. 4 more days home and we didn't have to push it once.
Glad you made it back. Glad the bike, has it been fixed properly since, or you just
we're
were done with it?
selling that hunk of junk.
Does anybody want to buy it?
We have a bike for sale. It's known as the bike from hell. Real tempting.
No more. No more. No more.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm so glad we were able to get you on stage to tell your story. Thank you for joining us. One more round of applause for Elizabeth, folks. All right, before we get started with the last set of storytellers, we have an exciting development to add to Elizabeth's story. So hang tight, folks.
More. There's more.
But wait, there's more.
Find a buyer. No.
So I didn't realize this. And I was kind of confused because Aaron was talking to this gentleman next to us during my presentation, and I was like, why are you interrupting? And like it felt a little just a little bit rude, but not that much. I love him very much. So it turns out that the man sitting next to him is Mr. George Duchesne. And do you guys want to know whom we bought the bike?
Diablo!
I want to follow this up with, and don't fault him for that, because we worked through it. We're not going to hold any grudges. And there's a story I want to tell about George Duchesne that I think is very heartwarming. We have a 6-year-old son who rides a little PW50. He's precious on it. He's also terrible at stopping at all. And we were at our friend's airfield, and he was running up and down the airfield, having a great time. George went up and down the airfield 100 times with our kids. And then they came in to like stop for the moment, and our kid ate it. Just full on ate it, came in, slid out, low side, done. George, in his infinite wisdom, did the same, intentionally, and next to our child, and said, hey, look, it happens to everybody. You all right? Shake it off. So he did sell us the bike from hell. He is sitting next to us, but our kids love him, so we're not going to hold it against him, right?
And you should be buying that table a round of beverages.